All right, here we go. Good morning, everybody. We're doing a mic check right now. So if you could tell me you can hear us. Good morning, 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 morning. And Olivia, say something so we could hear if anybody else.
Good morning, everyone.
All right,
Well,
type.
good evening to a lot of our.
I know. Type in the chat if you could hear us. Can you hear us? Well, I got to hear now. That's it.
Stephanie, I don't see. Oh, now I do. I do see chat. Um, welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're tuning in.
So let's see. Can you hear us? Say something.
Yes, I believe so. I see people typing in yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. And as we get everybody coming in, I know you guys may be on different state. Let me say, hold on now.
Good morning, good morning. Can everybody type in where you're tuning in from?
Well, yep.
Singapore, Asia time.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here while everybody start pouring in, so we don't want to take up too much time on it. So here's the thing, a little house cleaning. I'm gonna get everybody. Welcome. We've got Lori. Hi, Lori. So this is welcome. We're the DFW local team, and Olivia will be with us in July, live in person in July in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And to get to know her, so we designed this call, and we invited everyone that want to join in and get to know Olivia. So we're gonna just relax, okay? So here's the thing: if you have any question, we're gonna that you want to ask, please type it in the Q&A session because I won't miss your questions on the chat. Has the chat flow up, we're gonna kind of, kind of lose that trail with your question. I don't want to lose everybody. Now, we will do our best to answer your question as best as we can. Okay, so Olivia, I want to first thank you for accepting the invitation for Dallas for Local. It has been a while. When was the last local you did for Dallas?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, thanks for having me, of course. Anything that Stephanie and Richard asks, it's impossible to refuse, right? And, they're just truly incredible leaders, incredible friends. So, when Stephanie asked me, I'm like, when are you coming back to the States? I'm like, okay, let's get the dates down. So, I think it's been what, at least 8, 9 years ago. It was definitely before COVID.
Wow.
I mean,
That was
COVID
a
was 6 years ago.
right.
Um,
Amazing. So we're on again, everyone, with Olivia Lee from, Flushing, New York. Yeah, Flushing, New York. And she is a director. For those of you that are guests, a director has an income of 18 to 25,000 in a 4-week pay cycle on a team commission, and also 29-time master UFO. And that is a system that our company has that measures how successful you are in actually replicating the system. Duplicating is the right word, and retire at 23. How many of you would like to retire at 23? She's, that's amazing, isn't it? Retiring at 23 And of course, when she's retired, she got married at 2019. So she's no longer that little kid that started Market America, shop.com, and now Market. Of course, you have Market Singapore, Market Malaysia. Now we're in 10 countries already. And she's a mother of two now, So I've seen Olivia since you were, well, that exposed my age right there. So let me ask you this. When did you start shop.com Market America? At what age did you start?
Well, I started this business during college years, actually, and I think I evaluated the business. So, see, I have a very interesting path of evaluating the business. So, I grew up with the business because my mother, Miss Min Liu, who is a very successful entrepreneur and a leader with this business, and I've seen how the business changed my entire family's life, of course, my life. But I did not think that this business was for me to begin with, right? So I've always known about the business, but I started evaluating for tax deduction purposes because I started, almost going to work in Wall Street finance. So I was paying very high tax. So I would say I really officially started at the age of 21/22 when I went to my very first convention.
Wow. So I want to move back a little bit, like tilting back before you even started shop.com Market America, and you grew up in a Market America family. Guys,
Hmm.
Olivia Lee is Ming Lu's daughter. So Ming Lu's income, she's a senior field vice president,
She
executive
is
senior
a
field vice president.
field president,
She's a
making,
field president. 80,000?
yes, correct.
Yes. So she's a field vice president in marketamerica.shop.com. She makes 80,000 in a 4-week pay cycle. That's like people's 1 year income right there, for a lot of us. So here's a question. Now you live in that environment growing up. You saw Amber Yang, Tom Lin, I'm sure,
Hmm.
Bonnie and all these legends that we know in
Yeah.
shop.com. To hear your perspective growing up watching this happen, and why didn't it influence you? Even at 21, they have to convince you. Why is that? Well, what did you see, and what did you see growing up? I know that Ming Lu always talked about you being, I mean, she paid 100% of the Columbia University. Guys, she went to Columbia University. That's an Ivy League school in the United States. But there's a little secret that I found out. You were accepted to Juilliard.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I
I
know.
actually did Juilliard pre-college for about 4 years, and along with my high school. And then I had to make a decision. Do I want to go for the music career or do I want to do, my academics, which I was actually, I don't want to sound snobby, but I was pretty good in both at that time. So then, I realized, oh, I don't want to make my hobby playing piano into a money-making machine. And I was very afraid when I make it into a money-making career, I wasn't going to enjoy as much. So then I decided to go to Columbia to pursue industrial engineering. So I did engineering at school.
What? Wait, how did you went from engineering to finance?
Well, so for our major, industrial engineering, surprisingly, was one of the favorite majors preparing for finance. So finance people loved our major. So that's why I went to that major so that I could prepare myself for finance.
Wow, that is so interesting. And
Hmm.
wow, I've never thought about it that way. So
No.
let's backtrack a little bit. So growing up in that situation, why do you still need convincing? You see your aunt.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think, well, first of all, my mother was a first generation immigrant to the United States. And of course, like many other stories you hear, she moved there simply because of, pursuing a better future for me, right? Education and, just career. And she had to start from ground zero. So, yes, now she makes field president 80,000 every 4 weeks pay cycle, but she wasn't like that, right? Years ago. So when she started this business, she also had to work this business on a part-time basis, had a full-time job where 6 days a week she had to work, leaving the house at 6 a.m., don't come home until 10 p.m. And I've seen how much effort she had to, invest into that job, right? But really just overbroke. And, she was barely maintaining our, means and, school, basic stuff, rent. And so I know it wasn't easy, right? But fasting forward a little bit, when she started this business, and I've seen how dedicated she was. But then I was given the circumstance where this is something for people who may not have other opportunities. See that,
Mm,
preconceived notion where I thought my mother was struggling, do not have a degree in the States, didn't speak the language, and this is a great opportunity for her. So fasting forward a little bit, she started making money and paid for my college tuition and started buying our very first $1 million house. And I still remember at that $1 million house, we had a housewarming. You know how many days we have to hold that housewarming parties? My mother have to host 3 full days of the housewarming parties for her team, and she had to break up into 2-hour segments for each team. So in the morning time, between 9 and 11, Amber Yan's team, right? And then from 11 to 1, so and so's team, from 1 to 3 p.m. So I still remember that time. I was so amazed standing there and just seeing very different backgrounds. Some people maybe coming from, the service industry. Some people maybe like all taxi drivers, and some team more like Uncle Tom, all restaurant owners. Very diverse, but everyone looked so happy, so, team oriented, and everybody was genuinely happy to celebrate someone else's success. That's one thing that I really picked up. So yeah, 3 days of housewarming. And I just all of these little things. I saw everybody. I thought Uncle Tom, Amber Yan, Bonnie, and Nancy. All of these $1 million earners now, right? And they were all, of course, just aunties and uncles to me, but most importantly, they were all very much serving people. I remember seeing them just serving their, team and serving their people, and they didn't strike to me as, oh, I'm the leader, these people are my team. No, never like that, right? So everybody was mingling together. So, but even at that event, I still remember inviting a few of my personal friends. And my friends were even more amazed seeing how, wow, like, and they were asking me, what does your mother do? And they were all joking, like, I've seen, the head of the gangster maybe in the movie having so many people coming in. I've never seen this in real life. So that I, isn't that funny? So then I was like a little bit shy, or, like JR talking about kind of hiding behind, your clothes and be like, I don't know what my mother does. That was me before
uh,
evaluating this business. I thought this was okay, selling some products, having a lot of people coming over. My preconceived notion is also maybe it's something like that. You see what I mean?
ah.
So
So
even myself,
but you just saw your mom going in and out, and you think that, hey, you know what? This is for people that don't have the opportunity. So they made it great because they don't have the opportunity to do that. So here's a question for you then. That impression, that must how did you get what changed your mind, and how did it change your mind that you
mm,
decided to say, you know what, I want to do this as well, like what my mom, since this is you have great opportunity, Juilliard, Columbia University, now in finance, so you are like the cream of the crops, you know.
yes. So I think I definitely I thought I scored all the best ones, right? I thought I was a winner already. I thought I had it, all figured out. But I guess having a taste of the 45 years plan. Once I started working in Wall Street, I was working 80 hours a week. And then when I get my paychecks, I realized 48% was paid to Uncle Sam, to tax. And so I was getting a little frustrating and very feeling insecure. And of course, at the job environment, I also saw people who were smarter than me, people who were, already at the top of the, work pyramid, people who were COOs and CFOs. But just because at that time the CEO was, changed to a new team, and then guess what? That whole linear team was removed, right? The CFO, the COO was gone in one day. And those were the people that I highly respected. So that gave me a big wake-up call and say, wow, there's really no security, right? It doesn't matter how smart you are, how much money you make, there's no real security. So that's number one thing that made me think a little bit. But I gotta thank my mother, who really was incredible at following up. She really knew how to communicate. For many people, I'm sure if you have kids, you understand. It's hard to talk to, teenagers or people who, already have their, young adults. So I was a tough cookie. So my mom literally had to talk to me in different ways, inviting me very nicely. Would you like to join me, to come to Miami? Beautiful, right? She was trying to get me to a convention. So I refused, right? I could travel with my own friends, mom. And then she tried to lure me, right? And convince me. And then at the very end, she actually had to just be like, force me, kidnap me. And then she literally called me in my full name in Chinese, 李小璐. Wow, goosebumps. So that was the moment where I said, okay, okay. I went from no mom, talk to my hand, to no problem, mom. What do you need me to do? Okay, you want me to go to Miami? I'll show up for one day. So I still remember, giving her lots of excuses. I was the head of the student organization. I'm hosting a fashion show. I got rehearsals. And then all she said was, fly down Friday night. You can finish all your rehearsals, but fly down Friday night. Show up for one day at convention. Okay. And then, that day you will know what I'm talking about. And then if you really don't like it, then we will not talk about it. Okay. So then I kind of, I had to show up for that one day. So what truly inspired me at my first convention, I only went there for one day, not dressed business professional. I was in my, sundress with big sunglasses, ready to suntan. And I still remember people asking my mother, seeing me, at the terrace outside of our Coliseum, and be like, "Who is that?" That guest did not look very, encouraged to be here. My mother was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's my daughter." But that's how I went to my very first convention. But right there, I didn't understand everything JR said. But when JR was so passionately sharing about his vision, I was really impressed by his energy, his leadership, the ability to influence 30,000 people, and the fact that he has such a strong passion towards his vision. And those leadership qualities was something that I did not have or did not see in my corporate world. And that really inspired me to dream a little bit, think about what if. So I started asking myself, what if I become a young entrepreneur? What if this would be the route for me? What my life would be like. So then my mother obviously sold me another ticket to another event in Greensboro. And over there, what I saw was the people changing 6 months ago. People who were very shy among the team, people who were, barely able to introduce their name 6 months later at the next convention. Wow, huge amount of personal growth. These people were able to talk very confidently, very professional, very eloquent, very, passionate about their goals and dreams. So then it really impressed me and reflect back on myself. What did I do for myself, my personal growth the past 6 months? Not much, huh? So I was doing my daily routine, going to work and that. I thought I was learning some of the skill sets at work, but really looking back, I don't think I've acquired much personal development. So that's where the turning point was. I said, if I don't grow, I wouldn't be able to succeed in any career field. let alone whether I choose Market America or stay in my, previous career. So, um, it was really the environment, the convention, the people energy, the leadership, right? All of those combined that really got Market America into my heart.
Wow, it took quite a bit. Were you impressed when you see the amount of buses your mom had?
Oh
And
my God. Yeah. It was we literally stopped traffic. Everybody shut down in Flushing area, just in the morning time, different batches of buses. Each bus loads about, I don't know, 50, 60 people and everybody transporting, right? The entrepreneurs down to Greensboro. And you got to know from New York to Greensboro, it's a at least 10 to 12 hour, journey. So, and we call those fortune buses. You get on the
oh
bus,
wow.
you get on the bus, you pursue your fortune. So, fortune bus.
Yeah, I got on one of your bus before for a product symposium, and we had Angela and Stephanie went with us, and we were like calculating how many income earners on that bus, and yeah, that whole bus could easily make, I mean, over 200,000 sometimes in that just that vehicle itself, and it's quite impressive. I just want to let everybody know Flushing is one of the largest teams in the United States, and Ming Lu started the bus route, which means you start seeing big buses that has 50 people coming in for our conferences. I think she had more than like 10 buses, right?
Oh no, way more.
Uh, So they all meet, and then they had the bus route, everything, and we always see those buses. And
Mhm.
we know that's Flushing, New York. And now, of course, with Philadelphia and everybody, you guys are all over the United States these days. So that was quite interesting. So here's the thing. Did you decide immediately after you come back from conference to start the business? How long did it take you before like, I'm gonna do this? Like, let's
That's
get the paperwork going.
exactly. So, see, it's very different when you think you launched something or you started something, but versus when you're committed to something, right? So, my first convention in that one day got me started dreaming, and but that wasn't enough motivation for me to come back and say, I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone and I'm gonna start working on myself. I'm gonna cut all the Google stuff, the leisure time, I'm going to invest it into working on myself because sometimes changing and growing and working on ourselves can be a little bit lonely, right? And, it's not that glamorous when you're going through the journey. But, so after my Miami convention, I came back. I was still a sleeping beauty in this business. You know what that means, right? I existed in the graphic organization, but I didn't show up physically to trainings or events, and I had my excuses, right? Excuses. I was busy at work, I have 80 hours a week. When I finish my, work day, it's already 10 o'clock. Can I still show up to that meeting after the meeting? By the time I get there, Stephanie, they're already done. So I had a lot of these excuses, right? And I chose going to a steakhouse with my friends over showing up to a quartering, stuff like that. So, yes, why is that? Because my why of succeeding in this business or growing in this myself was not strong enough to beat all the other excuses. So then I showed up to North Carolina, I would consider my official, right? Very first event because I was mentally and physically there. So I saw the change in people that really irritated me. And I told myself, if I don't do something, I won't be able to succeed in any field endeavor. So I came back. I told myself, JR always says that one thing, right? You never want to skip a single event. Always show up to the next event. So I made that promise to myself. I said, I know my time is very limited, but I'm gonna do that one thing that JR asked. If I show up every event, I will be able to succeed in the 2 to 3 year plan. Okay, so I strongly believed in that consistency, maybe coming from my, piano career. I know every day you got to practice piano, Stephanie. I don't care if, how great it could be Lang Lang, right? The world's number one. but you have to practice every day. If you don't practice one day, you yourself know. You don't
Yep.
practice 2 days in a row, your teacher will know. You don't practice 3 days in a row, even your mama will know, right? Everybody can hear the difference. So that's, at the Greensboro convention, I told myself I gotta show up to every event, and then I can grow from there. So, that would be like the major, I would say the simplest commitment to make, but it's also one of the hardest one to commit.
Oh,
Would you
interesting
agree with
that you
that?
said that. So let me inject here. So you did start after when you come back from the first event, am I right?
I started using the product.
Like there, like you were a node in that whole genealogy, but you didn't do that commitment. Now, here's a question for youngsters. They always ask this. Also for professional, because you cover both younger generation and professional. So there's always this thing that I can't sell and I can't do this. Was that lingering in your mind when you like, yeah, I start, but then again, I started slicing the system and choosing what I choose to do instead of really, really learning
Mm,
the system. And we know we've been in this route before. We've seen people that that until you replicate what JR says, you're probably going in circles, 100%. I don't care
absolutely.
what you do. So how did you move from that state, and you're in limbo at that point. Now you're going to convention. Even when you come back, how did you go overcome those factor of uh, selling, those factors of recruiting, that mindset of that being so afraid to ask someone about the
Mm.
business? How did you overcome that?
That's a great question, Stephanie. I mean, for me especially, the environment, I gotta say, you always want to be in the right environment. So because I showed up to every event, because I was always in that environment, that atmosphere that stimulate growth, I saw people, who weren't better than me, but now they're doing the system way, and then the results they got was they were able to invite people to the events. They were able to retail and recruit, where I was actually, still holding on to my maybe Wall Street finance ego, which I did not realize I was holding on to my past success. And I haven't surrendered to the system in Market America yet because I was still trying to do it my way. What is my way? I was trying to convince people, right? When I meet people, I was trying to, because I thought I could explain the concept. I could talk about the system. I can show the plan. So then I was trying to tell people everything from my own perspective. And I wasn't listening, number one. Number two, I wasn't following the system way. What's the system way? You ask questions and you listen. You do invite, not convincing, right? So then I realized, wow, a few months later, the difference was very obvious. People in my organization or people in our team, was building with momentum. They were leading to people. They were, making the calls, doing the invites, and they always had new people at the events. Where for me, I was convincing, literally talking people away. So then I had to really face my flaws. I was listening to a lot of audio. That's a great tip. I think I was listening to Master Recruiter by JR, learn
Oh,
how
that's
to
a good
talk
one.
in. Oh, I love that one, my
That's
favorite.
a good one.
And that every day I was just repeat, on repeat with Master Recruiter, and also learn how to talk in theme, the first one with Andrew Weissman. So all of those audio really, really like reprogram my brain. And then, I had to really broke down my ego and tell myself that you got to stop doing it your way because your way is not the unfranchised way. And I had to tell myself that if I don't surrender to the system, maybe one day the reason I give up this business was not because I wasn't able to build. It might be because I can't face myself in this business because I'm not doing the right way. So I don't want to have that regret. And that's the day. Wow, I still remember blood flowing to my head. I felt
Wow.
so hot. I was sitting in the HBP, home business presentation, listening to people showing the plan. And I really just felt that, wow, everything just I got the the light went off. So then, starting then, I was focusing on building the process and the numbers. I wasn't so much focusing on the results, and I wasn't doing it my way, right? So that
Mm.
was a changing point for me.
So
And
now moving forward a little bit,
mhm,
because you talk, I'm going to talk on behalf of the college kids, the
mm,
people that are working between the age of like starting 18 years old, 25, 27. The tip that you would give them at
mm,
that age building this, because one, the network was not so great for all of us when we
mm,
started, right? We just
no.
barely come out of society, and
And no
you're
credibility.
becoming a business owner, you hardly know anything about entrepreneurs. You have your mind of thinking your way of thinking what entrepreneurship is. So
Mm,
what tip would you give them listening to in like right now, evaluating and thinking, is this business for me or not?
mm,
Or in the process already doing it, but it's not edging out that success that they are seeing. So what would you say to them that, looking back and talking to the Olivia Lee at
mm.
that
Okay. That's an incredible question, Stephanie. You're so good at this. Um, but to be honest, if you have as many no's as possible, okay, have as many challenges as possible, and really eat challenges for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the more problems you solve, that builds your character, and that really becomes your own success in the future. Because in any business entrepreneurship, it's all about solving problems, right? So, I actually had to build mainly from cold market because all my friends and coworkers, they were all making incredible money fresh into the workforce. They were consultants and finance, and mostly from these two fields. They were making incredible income, and they all thought that was crazy, right? Doing that because they never took the time to look into what I did because they were so focused on pursuing climbing that corporate ladder. So I had to just, you can't change these people. I got to change the people. So I went to do cold market. And with cold market, like Steph said, you go through a long learning process. So number one tip is focus on the process, not the results daily. Building this is a process. Sharpening your skill sets is a process. You can't just go from zero to playing Beethoven right from like 1 week, right? It takes a long journey of practicing the scales, sharpening your, skills on your fingers, the technical things, then eventually be able to play a big piece. So same thing for our business. You got to work on that every day. What can I do better? How can I introduce the business better? How can I invite better? How can I, listen better? So focus on the process, not the results daily because I knew I don't have 20-year experience in sales like many other people may have. I don't have that business owner experience like other people may have. So I was really below that qualification as a qualified unfranchised owner, right? Because I did not have any skill sets to offer, no credibility. So what I needed to do is, but I have one advantage. I started early. I started young. So I was telling myself, if I just work my, sharpening up my skill sets, focus on building myself and my 2 to 3 year plan, I can still start enjoying at a very young age, right? So it's so worth it when you understand the vision of this business. But what we truly got to do is you got to know you don't get there in one shot. You don't get there overnight. You got to build that skill sets over time. So that's my number one tip. Number two is have as many no's and challenges as possible because the no's really will lead you to the more yeses, number one, for business growth. But the more important thing is when you meet the no's, you realize, wow, what I'm not good at. But don't beat yourself up for not being good. It's just a process, right? So the next time you do even better. And guess what? The right people, even if you don't do the perfect way, they're still the right people. And for people who are not at the right timing, even if you show the perfect plan, they're still not going to join the business right away. So it's really you dependent. Let me say that one more time. It's not you dependent. Because a lot of times we take it so much into heart, right? If person says no, if the person says, it's not for me, and then you take all of that rejection into your own heart and say, maybe it's me that's not good enough. Cancel, cancel, cancel. That's so negative, right? Don't tell yourself that, right? It's not people dependent in this business. This is a system dependent business. So all we have to do is to really surrender ourselves into the system, follow that system, do it a system way, and then let the system run our team and the business, right? So all we got to do is sell the products, right? Use and sell, and then share the business opportunity and simply sell the tickets. Bring everyone to the system, bring everyone to the atmosphere, and then let the system do its magic. When you think about it this way, wow, this business is actually simple. It's very
Quite
simple.
simple.
Yeah, we complicated it, right? So now if we just simplify everything and focus on that process, hey, it actually becomes fun. You know what JR always says? Have fun. Number one rule is to have fun. I don't understand. How is this fun, Stephanie? Getting rejection, getting no's, having to challenge myself to say hello to a stranger, you know? But once you focus on that process, you realize, oh, so what if I get a no? Oh, I meet a interesting person, but maybe weird. You say, hey, I meet an interesting story. So then you become a reality show in real life. Wow, how interesting is that, right?
That is, but I want to pick on what you said. The key you mentioned a few times is daily. Do something daily. A lot of people just do like 1, 2 days a week, and they go like, it's daily, guys, if you picked it up. Now let's move forward a little bit for either talking to people that has been in the business for a while,
Hmm.
or move forward, maybe they are in their 30s or 40s or above, on it. What would you say to them? What is the tip that you would give them?
Is this for people who are still actively building, like haven't achieved their goals yet, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So I always tell myself, doesn't matter when you start. Some people might feel that is it too early for me to start? I'm, no skill sets, or maybe for a little more, experienced partners, right? Be like, is it too late for me to do this? No, never. Because tell yourself, I gotta do what other people are not willing to do today, so then I can live a life that others can only dream of in the future, right? So it's very important to know that when you're doing this business, not everybody will be with you. Not everyone will join you, but that's okay. You got to say that you can join me, you can watch me, but you can't stop me, right? So, for everyone, why did I say you gotta be willing to do whatever that's necessary for success today so that you can live the life on your terms in the future? Because a lot of times people compare, especially when people get to that 30, 40-year olds and above. And you look at Facebook, maybe you see your friends and peers. Oh, okay, they're at a certain level, maybe climbing that corporate ladder. And that confuses you of your choice, saying, am I investing the time in the right business? And you got to understand your why of building this business because I chose this business so that I can have this particular lifestyle where I make every single decision, where I own my time, where I have the freedom, where I get to be with my loved ones, and I can always say yes to my loved ones. My kids want me to be somewhere, I can always say yes. They want to go to Disney World, I can always say yes. I don't have to always say yes to a boss, to a position, and then say no to my loved ones. So especially for um, people already have family, have work. I get it. It's very limited on time, and we're very, very, wow, demanded in all aspects in life. But guess what? This is your main reason to build it faster, crunch the time, have that urgency, right? The faster you can get yourself up to that, comfortable position, the sooner you can have time back to do what you truly want to do. I always remember my mom always says, Market American can solve every single problem in life, right? Because if we want the time, this business can buy your time back. If you want the money to pay off debt or mortgage, anything, this business can allow you to do that way faster than any other business. Because guess what? This is this is a business that can scale up. It has exponential growth, right? So remember, this business builds can solve all your problems. And got that strong belief, that strong why is the main driving momentum for us to be consistent, consistent. Like Stephanie also talked about daily, consistent, persistent, right? Just remember two keywords here, being focused and being consistent. Okay, being focused and being consistent. Because there's so much noise out there. Cut all those noise, right? Stop listening to people who may sound like they care, right? And don't let people get to your heart. People who care won't mind. People who mind won't care. Does that make sense? People who actually make you feel like they're judging you, they don't really care about you. So get rid of all the noises. Focus on what you want, what lifestyle you want, and then if this business can give you the lifestyle that you want, don't look sideways. Put the blinders on and just keep going forward. Guess what? The business system is powerful. If you believe in it and walk the path, you will get there.
That's so powerful. Now, here's a question. Just want to give a glimpse of what your life is today. If you
Mm.
have not done, I want you to think back, okay? If you have not had shop.com, what will your life be today? And
Ooh.
if you have today, what is the picture of that life? That you have. And we just talked about dream wedding, guys. She had two weddings, and one of the wedding is for, her friends, and she had her own dream wedding. How many of us can plan a dream wedding, right? So, of what you really want. So, here's the thing. Think about if you were to stay with your job. Now, think about today, because you have the before and after at this moment.
Mm. Hmm.
What's your life look like right now? And if you were to stay at your job, what would your life be?
Ooh. Let me, do you want the bad one or the good one first? Let me share with you if I was still in my past, right? Continue to do the traditional 45-year plan, what my life will be. Because I do see it from my friends who are still in that field. We all know finance is very cutthroat, it's very fast-paced, and it's a very male-dominant world, right? So if I had to really stay in that field, if I survived that field, right, maybe many rounds of layoff, um, or jumped around successfully, let's say, I think I would be no time for my family. I don't even know if I would have kids by now. And to really live that world, it looks glamorous. Maybe I dress up in suits, always be in Manhattan, Wall Street. And then, after work, I have to maybe show up to those socializing, networking sessions, always at the cocktail parties, drinking a little bit, serving the clients. And then, come home to the typical Manhattan small apartments. And maybe if I had a family, I would be buying a house somewhere. But I would be so scared of losing my job because any property in New York is so expensive. I'm sure you know. And for a lot of my friends, I said, well, they complain about their job. They say, I'm so tired. There's so much politics. I really want to look into something else. Then I say, why don't you? Right? Venture out or see different. They're like, I'm so scared to lose my job because this is the income that can pay for my mortgage. And the older you get, the less possible your mind, right? Your brain thinks that you can change. So um, so that, I also see my friends who maybe moved to Hong Kong to pursue a better, work and life balance, which they haven't achieved because in finance, um, it's just always like that, right? If you want to survive in that field, you have to be, work morning to night. So for me, like I said before, let me share a few pictures with everyone what my life is because guess what? You get to choose and design your own lifestyle, right? You get to choose and design your own lifestyle. Participant and now see your allow, I guess. Okay, so um I get to, hold on, am I seeing everything? Okay. I get to choose who I work with every day, right? I get to build a team where I truly enjoy hanging out with. I'm going to talk about more of how we started and how we build as young entrepreneurs at the local seminar. So definitely join us in person. And, I truly grateful to all these partners who believed in me when I actually had nothing much to offer, right? So I introduced the business to Michael, and Michael also introduced the business to Benson, his brother, and Benson introduced the business to Wayne, and a bunch of us, young, wet behind the ears. And really, I say we're young, wild, and free and broke, right? So that was us, but we started this business and, can you imagine going to work and then you really did not want to socialize and talk to the person next to you, the next desk? That was me back in finance. But now I cannot wait to see all of them. We're really family. We're team, we're friends, we're family. We're truly family. Sometimes even people say we're more like family here inside the Market America teams than maybe some blood related families, right? Because we have a mutual goal. And when my mother, this was right before COVID, actually, 2019, and it was my mom's birthday in December. So I said, hey, I love to take you on the trip. I love to celebrate you. My mom's always the type where, she puts obligations and, responsibilities first, even though herself inside, she's actually a very blue personality. She loves to explore, adventurous, very adventurous person. But you see her as always the responsible, like always having to do things, take care of other people. Well, she's the eldest daughter in the family too. So I think that identity, right? So, but I want to lure her, bring her true self out. I said, Mom, celebrate, right? So I decided to take her on a surprise trip, flew her business class on Emirates. We all went to Europe, taking her to the spots where, she hasn't been. And, wow, her very first Paris trip. And we had a blast, right? Mom and daughter trip, no particular agenda. I said, I love the snow. I love the cold. And I know she's adventurous. Even at 65 years old, she's still possible to learn skiing. And I took her to like Switzerland, such amazing lodge, and took her on her, ski lessons. And you know how they always teach you to do the pizza first? And I just remember her learning the instructor was like, pizza, pizza. And then she's like, oh, okay, I got pizza. And she started going down the slope. I'm like, wow, talk about being adventurous, right? So, but look at how happy she is. And that's wow. I do not remember being with my mother when I was working in finance. Even just for that few years that I was in finance world, I was never there to family gatherings, lunch or dinner with my grandparents. I was never there. When my mom took my grandparents to the cruise trip, I was not there. When they were, going to the doctor appointments, I was not there. I was never there, right? So I was glued to my desk. But here, I say, hey, where else do you want to go? Right. So after COVID, fasting forward after COVID, so I was being productive, making babies, right, during COVID, which is not too bad. Got my time, well spent, right? So, my first son was born in 2021. And so, wow, finally, after 2022, we were able to travel again. So, this was me in the beginning of 2023, being pregnant with my second daughter. And, so I was like, ooh, once I found out it's a girl, I just had this vision saying, why don't we do a girls' trip? So I'm like, Mom, I'm booking a trip. I'm taking you to spots, and I'm gonna do my maternity photo shoot with my mother. So I hired a photographer, and in Venice, and we did our photo shoot, and we got to actually see the carnival, and those dressed up beautiful carnival people were taking photos with me because they're like, you look so good with your bump. And I was already 28 weeks pregnant. And I was on the top of the 2,800 altitude mountain, at a ski slope. And, obviously I did not ski, but I did a little snow tracking with my mom and such incredible memory. And some people ask me, why? Why are you going there for I really can't think of a why. All I can think of is why not? I had a thought, like JR says, what if? Every goal starts with a thought, right? And when you have a thought, you really like it, it makes you happy. You can visualize it and you can accomplish it, right? You can manifest it. So I thought about it, I liked it, and I asked myself, why not? And I made it happen. So that's the dream making ability Market America gave me, right? I had the freedom, I had the time, I had the money, I had the decision making power, right? So isn't it powerful to have control in life, right? Imagine and talk about personal growth nowadays. If you've seen me, I'll talk more about my transformation at the local seminar, but I was not a talkative person. I am actually if I could say something in one sentence, I two. If I could answer something in one word, I will not say two, right? So that was me before, right? I would always pretend to be on a phone call when I have to socialize at a networking event. That was me before. I'd be like, oh, hi, Stephanie, hold on. I'm on the phone because I didn't know how to communicate with people. But because of Market America business, it trained me how to not only talk to people, communicate, building connections, which I think is wow, wonderful to really be a people person. So much more fun. And to be able to present and talk about my journey in front of 20, 30,000 people, to really always surround yourself with positive, like-minded, full of energy, right? So forward-looking, all of these team. And then if you haven't seen my Instagram, you would know by now that I love traveling, right? I love traveling. So, wow. I say, why don't we travel when we are young and energetic and, you know, uh, travel as soon as we can. Why wait? We only live once, right? So, talk about my dream wedding. A lot of people also ask me, why did you have your second wedding in Italy? Okay, I had my first wedding in New York City, obviously celebrating with our team and all of our friends and family. But I also wanted to have a destination wedding, hosting my really close friends, all from international countries. So I just always had a picture of. I'll show you a picture. It was a picture that I found online, something like this. Okay, and I knew it was from Italy, but I actually didn't know which property or which location it was. I just had it on my dream board. Talk about dream board, guys. Be careful what you put on your dream board because it will become a reality. So when I was thinking about I want to have my wedding in Italy, people ask me again, "Oh, is your husband Italian, Olivia? Why do you have your wedding in Italy?" Okay. And my question is, no, my husband is not Italian. And my answer is, why not? Okay. I like that country. I wanted to have my dream wedding there. And I started scouting on dream venue. So fasting forward, when I went to this property the first time, if you recognize that tree on the right side, that big round tree, this is the location they filmed 007. If you James Bond movie, when the I'm not sure if you remember the beginning of the movie when James Bond was cruising onto this property in a boat, and this is where they filmed that scene. Okay, so um,
Wow.
right, it's like, ooh, I mean, I can't marry a James Bond, but I can have my, husband coming on just like James Bond, right? So, but really. When I saw this property, wow. You know how they say you see something that's the right one, you know it right away? And that's how I felt. I said, this is it. That was a property. And then when I got home, wow, my goosebump. Um, I saw this picture on my dream board from
Oh,
Google. I had this picture, this location on my dream board, right? Years ago. I just wanted to travel there. I never knew that I was going to have my wedding there, but powerful dream board. So
absolutely.
beautiful, and we were able to really, have the lifetime memory that we can always cherish on, have all of our friends flying in from all across the world. And then my husband was like, wow, like driving the boat. And this boat was actually George Clooney was shooting the advertisement for Nespresso on this exact boat. I said, hey, voila, James Bond, and also I can marry the guy who drove the same boat, just like George Clooney. Not bad, huh? So we were all just, really having a blast, having the design that I love, and, just really making my dream happen. So along this process, it's not just to say, oh, okay, showing off what I was able to have with my wedding. No, I enjoyed the full process because it was dream making process. It was me telling myself that I'm capable, and I will make my dream into my reality. So every time you have a goal and a dream and you are making it happen, you're on your way, you got to enjoy that process because it's the process where you tell yourself that you can, you're in control, and you're on your way to really make your dream into your reality, right? So, and now I'm no longer just me, myself, and I, right? Now we're responsible for also two little ones, Hudson and Madison. God, of course, represent our New York. But now they're bigger than now, 4.5 and 3 year olds, full of fun and energy, and it makes a huge difference when you're always present. You're present parents, and I always do pick up drop off all by myself. I don't have to rush them. I don't have to always be like, 快点,hurry up, we're late. I never have to say that, right? I just take them, you know, um, you know, do whatever with them, and I can have the patience, the quality time, because I'm not always chasing after, someone else's position, someone else's job, someone else's order. I do everything and plan my schedule. I still plan my schedule around Market America events, don't get me wrong, guys. That's the most important thing, right? Because all my life is possible because of Market America business vehicle, right? So all my kids know, Mom, what are you gonna do? I said, why are you, dressed up? And I said, I have my meeting to do. And they know not to disturb me. I know I'm traveling for the conventions. They know, oh, you gotta work because they know that is our lifestyle, right? But guess what? It pays for every dream that we ever have. And this is not just a money-making business, it's a dream-making business. It's also time-making business. So really hope everybody can, yeah, truly enjoy the same thing.
To live on your own terms, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. So I here's to anchor everything. We might go a little bit off just to let everyone know here. Here's to anchor everything. We always hear people say in Chinese, I hear a lot what Johnny Wong say, 教你怎么样去做人, or
Mhm.
teach you how to be a better person. And how would you say in terms of that, in terms of leadership that Market America's given you, and today, because with your family and your kids, how has it impacted you as a personality growing
Mm,
up and the direction that you see? Because for me, I see myself changing because I
definitely.
was very corporate. And so when Market America, it shows a different light, it shows a different kind of leadership. And
Yes.
how would you communicate with the youngsters? You got two ways to do it, and
Mm,
the and the people that are already professionals that are here, or more mature people that are looking at this business or considering it, or maybe the people that are in the business already, in terms of leadership, personality, in terms of what it has brought you, and has it enhanced those skills for yourself?
absolutely. You're right. We see ourselves changing. The way we educate things is not just telling people what to do, right? Telling people what to do, it never really solves the real concern deep down. we got to do the selling, right? Same for our business, same for communicating with kids, next generation. So I'm so grateful to this business because it's leaving a legacy is not just the money that we're talking about. Leaving a legacy forever. It's the mindset that you can pass down to your next generation. Let them know how to dream big, how to dare to dream, how to goal setting, and how to really, communicate, how to express yourself. So, I also was talking about this to my mother the other day. I said, wow, if it wasn't for this business, I would be ordering my kids and just forcing them like a tiger mom, traditional one, right? Be like, if you don't do this, da, da, da. But now we really take Market America Basic 5 education into talking to family members, right? Talk about, let's break down why is everything. And, let's talk about why we need to do certain things. And the why behind, it really gives people that different perspective. And rather than, traditional way of saying, oh, you want to do this? No, you cannot. No, we always say, why do you want to do that? And if it makes you happy and it's something that you really want to achieve, go for it, right? If they actually encounter challenges and be like, hey, you got to know challenge is part of the journey. If that's something that you really want, you got to be able to also handle the challenges. So the way we think, it's so different, right? Not just taking orders, duplicate, and and tell people what to do, but we actually educate the why, right? Go communicate from the heart of the why, and you really see a difference. People, kids are more calm, right? They're not just always. They don't show emotion to get attention, right? You allow them to express themselves and then they calm down before they show you the fuzzy side. So there's so much more to think about this business. But I guess before I became a mom, I didn't realize how that communication skills, that leadership skills, that leading by example was so important in just every way communication, right? So now sometimes you know, I I tell the kids, well, we don't play toys, whatever, at lunch and dinner. And then if I use my phone, they'll be like, hey, mom, why are you, on your phone? I said, oh, I'm so sorry, So it becomes a family culture. So just incredible opportunity.
So what, wrapping this up, and we're gonna, if you guys have any questions, start typing it. Um, what is the one tip you want to give everybody listening here, listening to you? What is the one gift that you want to give them?
Mm. Um, First of all, I'll tell you more at the local seminar. That's my biggest gift, to really pay it forward because everything that I've learned and was able to share all came from the GMTSS. It did not come from me inventing anything. No, I just learned from the GMTSS, many leaders, and I've actually, been to Richard and Stephanie's training in my earlier days and just all of their tips have became my tips and my implementation. So then I'm sharing it forward with other people. But on top of that, I think a gift for everyone is truly believe in yourself, right? Believe in yourself because I think nowadays we always are so conscious about what we do. Is it right? Is it pleasing people? Let me just tell you, you can never please everyone, and you don't need to please everyone. And we are building this business where we live our life on our own terms. But then we were taught to always please, whether it's family member, oh, we should be so and so when we grow up, or we try to please our job, management, and saying, oh, I should be that top A plus performer. But really ask yourself, what do you want to do? What do your life should be, right? So this business gives you the power to believe in yourself, to really build the way you want to be seen, to be respected, to be, you know, to looking yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who are you? And I remember when I wanted to build this business, I tell myself, I am Olivia Lee. I own my shop.com. My business goes wherever I go, and I am a director. Okay. I am a director. I am an entrepreneur. So we have the ability with this business to rebuild our identity, reprogram our mind, and you can be the inventor, right, of yourself. So how powerful is that? And you gotta believe in this business and then believe in yourself. Guess what? It takes 2 to 3 year minimum to believe in yourself because no one started this business and say, "Oh, I'm ready to go. I'm cut off for this business." We all have to be in this environment, one event to the next event to the next event to the next event to build our belief. So believing in the company takes you 1 or 2 conventions. Believing in yourself takes a whole long process of 2 to 3 years. So that's why we show up to trainings. That's why we continue to be in this atmosphere because we need this environment to believe in ourselves and to build ourselves up to be the person we want to be. So, yes, I cannot wait to see everyone, in Dallas. And of course, Stephanie and Richard always host the best events. So, let's take this year to the next level, right? Why not?
Absolutely. So, guys, if you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we will have a business presentation by Olivia Lee at 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. If you want to see what this is all about, that would be that period. And training, of course. We will talk about how we build a business with the basic 5 fundamentals of building from expansion to goal setting to marketing, as well as to what I like to say is distribution and duplication. So how do you generate and build an organization? So join us on July the 12th. This is where July the 11th. You don't have to be that smart to be in this business. But anyway, if I will take some if you have a question. If not, I will uh uh uh, oh, I know we'll miss you too, Fujin. So, in that case, so if you have any questions, great. If you don't, quickly type. I'll just see real quick, and I'll just, we wanna. We've taken enough of Olivia time. It was so interesting how we get this time together. We keep moving. Oh, no, I got the right time. No, I got the. I was absolutely confused with my time zone.
Oh my gosh. So yes, we're trust me, we're human.
Thank you so much for being so understanding with it, guys. See if you have any yes, definitely, definitely. We saw some of them Fuchin in Hong Kong. So at the Market Asia launch with it. So okay, we'll wait a couple minutes just to take some questions. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask Olivia? Let us know and so that I can read out the questions for you guys. Any questions that you would like to ask her personally, given what she said, And you'll be the next local seminar is Benson. I don't need to give you a bio on that one.
Oh, tell me about it. I'll share with you. Yes, a lot of history that we shared, and of course, how, his transformation was incredible too. So
We've grown, all
can't
of
wait.
us, from younger generation. We've seen you, and now Benson, you guys are mother, and he's gotten married, and you guys have grown. I feel really old right now. I was telling
Oh,
Amber, my goodness, has it been
trust
that
me,
long?
we
For
are
sure. Okay,
we're
cool.
forever young in this business.
You did a great job. So thank you guys so much. And Olivia,
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us. We really appreciate your time. I will see you
I
in Dallas
appreciate it.
on July the 11th.
Yes, can't wait, everyone.
Thank
Can't wait
you.
to
And
see
thank
you
your
there.
husband and your family for us. Really appreciate it. And that's Richard.
Hi, Richard.
Hey, Olivia. Thank you so much.
Hi.
I've been listening. I'm going to an NUT class right now, taking a new
Woo!
UFO there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Building, always building in the trenches. So much respect for
Yeah.
this couple. And Let's go, guys. Exciting
Right?
time,
Send
really.
you my our
Mm.
regards to your mom.
I'm sorry.
I send our regards to your mom.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yes. And she'll be babysitting my kids when I go to Dallas. So she's like, woohoo, go. All
Thank you
right,
guys. I'll
guys.
see you guys later. Good
Okay.
night,
See
everybody, and good
Thank you
ya.
so much,
morning. Good
Olivia.
night in Dallas.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Thank you guys
Bye,
Bye bye.
for everything.
everyone.
Bye, guys.